Welcome back. So in this video, we're going to talk about making things responsive. So as I've already mentioned, Bootstrap4 introduces a new screen size, a smaller version called extra small. And why don't we just take a look at those screen sizes first before we even write any code. So on the documentation for v4 under layout, you can scroll down. Here's a breakdown of the different screen sizes, the different breakpoints. So extra small devices, meaning like usually a mobile phone in portrait mode, vertical, is less than 576 pixels across. Then we have the small screen size, which is 576 until we get to the medium device. So medium starts at 768, meaning that small is 576 to 767. Medium is 768 to 991. Large is 992 up until 1199. Extra large is 1200 pixels and above. You don't need to commit those to memory or anything, but just know that there are 5 sizes. Extra small, portrait phones. Small, landscape phones. Medium, tablets. Large, some desktops. Extra large are larger desktop screens, 1200 pixels and above. So these different sizes, these different names come up again and again in Bootstrap. And when we talk about the grid system, we'll use them all the time. We'll say, make this 2 columns on extra small and 5 columns on large, that sort of thing. But for now, what I want to show you is how we can actually take these and apply them to the spacing utilities that I just showed you, so that we can selectively add margin and padding depending on the screen size. Maybe you want your items to be more spaced out on a large screen and you want no space on a small screen. So we can do that. This is the part that I said we would come back to. We've been doing this, property sides dash size, margin left 5. But there's also property sides breakpoint size, small, medium, large, and extra large. So we can say from medium, I want padding to be 5 on top, or on large, I want margin to be 0 everywhere. So let's take a look. I have a new file again. It is empty really, except for a container and a centered display that just says breakpoints in the middle. So what I'm going to do is make a button to start, and it's just going to have a lot of padding on the large screen size, or the extra large that is, and no padding on extra small. So to do that, I'm going to make a button, btn, let's do btn warning, and I'm just going to say button. Okay, so I'm going to start by giving it padding 5 everywhere. There we go. So let's say I only want that to be on extra large and above. So if I just say padding dash extra large dash 5 and refresh the page, now there is no padding here. Well, there's actually a little bit by default, but it's not padding 5. But then once I get to extra large right there, we now get 5. Padding 5 is applied. So the way that these work, you can think of it as from extra large and up, apply padding 5. The thing is, there's nothing above extra large. But let's say I change this to be padding small 5. What that would do is say from the small breakpoint and upwards, keep it at padding 5. So extra small, which is this layout, the smallest we can go, is not going to have padding 5. But once I get to small, it triggers padding 5. And it stays that way. So it's not saying only padding 5 on small. It's on all sizes, small and above. So for some reason, I only wanted 5 on small. And then once we get to medium, I want it to go away. I could say padding medium 0 and refresh my page. So we get to small, it goes to 5. We get to medium and it goes away. So I can keep adding these together over and over so that I could do something like have it alternate. Padding large, go back to 5. Padding extra large, go to 0. So we start out at extra small, which nothing actually is being applied at extra small from us. We'll come back to that. Then we're going to go up and we hit small, we get padding 5. Then we go to medium, it goes to 0. We go to large, it goes to 5. And then extra large goes back to 0. Okay, so that's kind of an odd use case. Let's do another one. In this one, I'm going to remove all of this. I want it to just grow from padding 0 at extra small up to padding 5 at extra large. And I'll make this one a button danger. All right, so the thing is, if I wanted to have padding 0 at extra small, there's no P-XS0. There is no extra small that we actually write. Instead, we give it the default of 0. So this is basically saying, unless you're told otherwise, it should always have padding 0. So at the extra small size, there's padding 0. But then we can change that and say, okay, never mind. Once we get to small, we want padding 2, let's say, and refresh. So now we go from 0 to 2, if you focus on the red button. And then we can say, all right, from medium, I want it to go to 3. Large will go to 4, and then padding extra large will go to 5. And if we play with it now, we start at extra small with padding 0 all the way around. Then we get to small, and I went to 2 instead of 1 because the difference between 0 and 1 is hard to see. Then once we get to medium, we go to padding 3 right there, and then padding 4, and then we get to extra large, and we get padding 5. Okay, so that's an important point, which is that there is no extra small. If we go back to the docs, notice what it says. The classes are named using the format property size size for extra small and property size breakpoint size for small, medium, large, and extra large. So whatever you apply, if you don't specify a breakpoint, it defaults to everything, including extra small. And then it's your job to go in and correct it, if you will, by saying, actually, at this breakpoint, we want it to be X or Y, or we want it to change this way. So we can do the same thing with, using our different sides as well. This is all just padding all the way around. We can do one more button, and let's have this button sort of pop into existence. So we'll have 0 padding everywhere, and then we're going to add it to the left, and then the top, and then the right, and then the bottom as we grow the page size. So we're going to do BTN, let's do success, and just have this one say button again. And we're going to have it have 0 padding at extra small. Right now, of course, it's always 0 padding. But now I'm going to correct it and say, all right, I want the padding left, so PL at small, to be 5. So this is different because this was just padding everywhere. This one, I'll make it larger, is just padding left. So now once we hit small, there we go. We get padding left. Okay, then we're going to keep going and say padding top at medium is also 5. And now once we hit medium, refresh the page, right there, we now have padding top as well. And you can see where I'm going probably. Padding right on large is 5, and padding bottom on extra large is 5. So it kind of looks like gibberish when you read it like this, but if you take some time to parse through what it means, it's actually a very nice brief syntax that encodes a lot of meaning. This would be a lot of individual CSS selectors for us to write, and we don't have to do any of it. Okay, so now let's take a look. 0 padding on the green button. Now we add the left, the top, the right, and finally the bottom. All right, so the same thing applies with margin. Quickly, I'll write up an example. I'll fast forward. Okay, so I just changed things ever so slightly. I added in an H1 here. I guess ever so slightly is wrong. I did change things a lot. I added an H1 that doesn't do anything. And then I added 4 buttons that also don't do anything involving margin yet. There's nothing responsive. It's just that they all have padding 4. What I'm going to do is spread them out on larger sizes and then shrink them down and keep them close together on extra small. Also, I gave the container text center just to center everything inside of it. Okay, so if I wanted to, I could go and let's just only work with the left and right margin, by the way. So I can use margin X, which is left and right together. And I could give them, let's do 5. This first one will be margin X of 5. You can see it adds a lot of space on both sides. So I only want that to take effect on extra large. So margin X, extra large, and I'm going to give it to all of them and save. So now they're close together, but once we get to extra large, they're quite spaced out. What I'm going to do is just adapt that for the other sizes. So margin X of large is going to be 4. And then I'm going to just duplicate this button. So margin X of medium will be, let's say, 3. And margin X of small is going to be, let's go with 2. And then margin X normally on extra small is going to be 0. So I'm going to just delete these 3 and then duplicate this button so I don't have to copy and paste all of that. And let's see how it looks. So no margin X, but then once we hit small, it should have margin X of 2. There we go. You can see they spread out. Then we'll hit medium somewhere right about here. There we go. It's kind of hard to tell, but there's more space. And now we'll get to large, and they even space out further. And then we get to extra large, and they're further apart. Okay, so we're just adding space between them depending on the screen size using that margin utility. Really simple, well, I shouldn't say simple, very short syntax that accomplishes a lot. This would be dozens of lines of CSS in order to make this work. Okay, so those are the breakpoints: extra small, small, medium, large, and extra large, taught through the viewpoint of padding and margin utilities. All right,